You would think working on a YouTube channel for 12 years and hitting 1 million subscribers would be a cause for celebration, but not in this case. The YouTube channel, WTF1, has announced the hosts, Matt and Tommy, were very suddenly leaving, and they were being replaced by a much more diverse group of 4 or 5 new hosts. Despite the channel having decent views, including appearances from the likes of Charles Leclerc,
trying to whistling in this thing.
Along with 1 million subscribers, this is one of the most popular F1 fan channels on YouTube, and the hosts are now out of a job. It turns out the channel is owned by the Race Media, and had been since 2020, so it would seem like the shadowy overlords were calling the shots in this case, although this is all unconfirmed. WTF1 was created in 2010, with Matt, the face of the channel, being around since 2016. Their content had the familiar trappings of podcasts, reactions, news coverage, as well as technical breakdowns. For the most part, it's pretty typical for an F1 YouTube channel. Like any show that has consistent presenters, it's the type of channel users are subscribing to because of the personalities, as they come across as genuine and knowledgeable about Formula 1. Their best videos being the ones that break down complicated technical guff into short, succinct explainers that are easy to digest. The channel was doing well too, and was still growing. There was no reason to change the hosts in favour of a new batch of content creators. You don't have to look far to see what this is being compared to, which is Top Gear, the good one. Top Gear was a juggernaut for the BBC, with viewers around the world going as high as 250 million. According to the show, that is. I'm going to take their word for it. Back in 2015, Jeremy Clarkson got into a fracas, or in layman's terms, punched a producer, after being told the kitchen at the hotel was closed. He was also drunk, but that's not an excuse. Clarkson had a history of being very outspoken, with multiple public controversies and warnings from the BBC, but physical violence had crossed the line. His contract wasn't renewed, with his co-hosts Hammond and May resigning, along with the producers of the show. They were quickly picked up by Amazon, where they continued to beat the same ideas into the ground. BBC kept the show alive, however, barely some would say. New hosts were brought in to basically carry on like it was business as usual. The original hosts were highly experienced automotive journalists with decades of writing about cars, plus over 20 years experience of presenting Top Gear together. The new hosts include Joey from Friends, a radio DJ, and a former F1 team principal. By 2020, following the untimely passing of Sabine Schmidt, the only host still around from the relaunch was Chris Harris, one of the few bright spots of the show and an actual automotive journalist. The current format of the show is again still the same, but now with a stand-up comic and former cricket player as the hosts. From the few times I've watched Top Gear, it's fine. Like The Simpsons, it's just a show that kind of exists now. It's a name that's so lucrative and known internationally, the BBC basically couldn't cancel it. The hosts have a decent amount of banter and back and forth, but it's still missing that something that made Top Gear, well, Top Gear. The views for Top Gear had been on the decline since 2010, but even after the original host left in 2015, I don't think anyone was prepared for the very sudden drop in views in the UK. Viewership has improved since then, but never managed to reach the same heights. International Top Gear also had the same problem, such as Top Gear Australia that launched in 2008, a series that again tried to recreate the same magic by smashing some random presenters together and expecting the same chemistry that had been built up over the course of years and years with Top Gear UK. By 2010, when the UK faced off against Australia in the Ashes episode, only one of the original presenters was still there, and the show only lasted 4 seasons. The US version also smashed together 3 hosts that argued a lot and had very little chemistry. This was better but only just, and stuck around for 6 seasons. The format of these shows was exactly the same, but the views and reviews, surprise surprise, weren't good. If the presenters didn't work, the show didn't work. A number of YouTube channels have also had the same issue, with BuzzFeed having this problem consistently. When popular presenters leave the company, they go solo, and may take some of their fans along with them. The Try Guides being the most well-known example of this, as they now have more engagement than BuzzFeed and have consistently grown their channel. Rooster Teeth and all their gaming channels have tried to bring in new presenters and on-camera talent to replace familiar faces that leave, or are forced to leave, and let's just say there's been quite a few reasons to leave Rooster Teeth anyway. The new presenters are thrown right in front of the camera and are at the mercy of an audience that has spent hours and hours growing very attached to the previous hosts. Relic of Gaming's past G4 was revived with 200 employees and dozens of on-camera talent, all working in a massive warehouse producing hours of content across multiple shows. It was closed just a year after the channel had started, as it couldn't sustain itself and didn't gain traction. Easily the dumbest example of this is when gaming channel SourceFed Nerd was closed very suddenly in 2017. After firing all the staff, they took the channel, rebranded it, deleted all the old videos, and tried to carry on like it was business as usual. Spoiler alert, people noticed. In WTF1's case, the new presenters are the ones that are going to bear the brunt of the audience backlash, which isn't really fair on them, even though they have hired people that seem way underqualified for a job like this. I'm sure the channel will trundle on, making all the content that we're very familiar with, but no matter how hard they try, it won't be the same. With a sudden subscriber drop following the announcement, this went over as well as you would expect. Looking at the original host Twitter timeline, this came right out of the blue, with each posting the exact same stock response, and all their previous tweets seem to give no indication that this is going to happen. To many, WTF1 is losing two of the people that made it what it was. That's why they had 1 million subscribers. The company that owns the brand is expecting it to be business as usual, and the channel will continue its healthy growth despite alienating the current fan base. Similar to modern Top Gear, this channel might as well be known as WTF1 in name only.
Indeed.